Okay, you guys are all set.
Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Fire exits are down the hall to the right or back the way you came in to the left. There is an AED across the hall if there's any concern, if anyone needs anything. And if you have a cell phone or pager, please turn it off for the duration of the meeting. I'm going to call the roll call. Clark?
Here.
I'm here. Carrie?
Here.
Steve, I guess, is excused, and Louis is excused. If that's Steve, we can go on, but in the meantime, I don't think I can approve any of the minutes that need to be approved. Because we don't have the correct number of people here to approve those minutes. I'm going to open the public forum for the duration of the meeting, and I'm going to start with my report on the planning board. Hamlin Planning Board minutes, Monday, April 4th. There were a couple of public hearings. The first public hearing was for Jonathan Ross at 20 Welch Avenue. Jonathan Ross was seeking a special use permit to operate a fishing tackle business at his home at 20 Welch Avenue with a Holly mailing address, but located in the town of Hamlin. This business is planned to be housed in an existing outbuilding on the residence property. It's in the RL zoning district. There was listed, it was not a listed use in the RL district, but the planning board decided that it was similar to other uses, so they weren't concerned about that. They opened the public hearing, no one spoke, so there was no issues from the public, so the public hearing was closed. Planning board members did not have any concern. The building inspector did not have any concerns. So a motion was made to declare this a type 2 seeker, type 2 action under seeker, and the motion was also made to grant the special use permit. The second public hearing was a continuation for PEMM LLC, a final commercial site plan approval. This is for the property, actually two properties at 1722 and 1730 Lake Road. They want to combine the two parcels and then construct a convenience store with a gas canopy, car wash, and vacuum stations. It's in the commercial general business zoning district. They did submit a new revised site plan based on comments from the previous public hearing. They got some really good suggestions from folks who commented last month. So they didn't need any variances because the impervious surface is down to 73%, and in that zoning district the impervious has to be less than 75%, so there was no issue there. There will be some large boulders that they're going to place on the northern boundary to separate that property from the store that's on the corner of Roosevelt and Route 19. They suggested public comment that the car wash and vacuum stations close at 10 p.m. so that there would be no noise. And basically they've met all the requirements that the engineer has put forth. So a motion was made and granted to give LLC their final commercial approval. On the agenda was Conservation Corridor Development Permit for Michael and Rachel Black at 6348 Shore Acres Drive. And this was actually concerning property that they own across Shore Acres Drive from them at 6353. They want to put in an 8x15 shed. There's no dwelling on that property, and it is a separate tax property, so they did have to get a variance, which they did. And they also had to get DEC approval because of its proximity to the pond that abuts Shore Acres. They did get the DEC approval for a 35-foot setback from the edge of the existing pond. It was listed as a type 2 seeker, and a motion was made and granted to give them the Conservation Corridor Development Permit. And the last thing on the agenda was a Mylar re-signing for Timothy Slosar from 131 Victor Lane. He wanted a re-signing for lot number 3. The lot contains 1.47 acres. It was approved in 2018, and the proposed plans are to build a new home. There's no changes from the approved site plan, so they just needed to have the original Mylar re-signed. So that was done. That was approved. That was the list of agendas and public hearings. There was some discussion at the end of the meeting. The town engineer mentioned that 16 residents still have to sign an easement agreements for the sewer project along the lake shore. And 1674 Walker Lake, Ontario Road is a solar facility, Nextera Energy, which Clark and I and members of the planning board had done a site visit. There were outstanding reimbursement balances that have not yet been paid. So a motion was made and seconded and approved to dismiss this application without prejudice. Once the balances have been paid, then next year may resubmit a new application. And that was the end of the planning board. Do you still have the agenda? Okay, Steve is not here for the Fishing Advisory Board or the Environmental Management Council. So, Clark, do you want to go ahead with the town board?
I was not at the town board meeting, but I got the minutes. It was my birthday. I went to the public forum, Chris Nettles through 324 presented to the town board information on the Eaglesville project. The project is a sign to mark the entrance from Roosevelt Highway to the town. He's always interested in building a few composite benches, and knows about the Lions Club Classic collection for benches. Stacy Ryan was inquiring about the process of acquiring a special use permit for a dog grooming business out of her home. She said an application was turned into the building department. However, this would have to go get approval through the mobile home park first. There was a vote to approve to conduct a public hearing for Lake Shore Sewer District number 2 in the town of Hamlin on the 5th of May, 2022 at 7 p.m. And then there was also a special meeting of the town board on the matter of sewer district number 1. Quite a bit. They did approve having a public hearing at the Hamlin Town Hall, also on the 5th day of May 2022 at 7 p.m. That's to consider the construction of the facility. There was a motion made to approve the use of the dog shelter donation account to neuter 2 males and spay 1 female, costing $258, and 1 dog with cherry eye for $270, for a total of $528, and that was carried. Motion was made and carried to approve the lump sum payment out of the central services account, 1610.4 for $5,372.32 to replace 19 outdoor lights on the Morton building and courthouse and the town hall with LED lights. And in Councilman Yeager's reports, that week of the 11th was Dog Shelter Appreciation Week. And a walkthrough at the shelter needs to be worked on. The library has an I Spy program up, encouraging discussions, working on a technology assistance program, and needs book donations for the Friends of Library upcoming sale. They had 1,600 go through the door in March, and they're getting the computers updated. Councilperson Vocal reported that the Chamber of Commerce is working on the treasure trek the weekend before Mother's Day. And the History Committee has 12 people attending for the first meeting. Members from Clarkson, Hilton, Carmel History Centers gave their experiences in starting a historical society. A historical society can give better access to grants. And they discussed the need to document the COVID-19 experience and send to Ron Klein as part of the history. They would like to name the room at the History Center as the Mary Smith Room, since she had so much to do with setting up the history and the History Center. Councilperson Mail reported they had the first cultural committee meeting, discussed an end of summer kids celebration, working with the fishing tournament, Christmas event, winter carnival fair. The next meeting will be April 28th. The Veterans Town Hall meeting on May 14th will include information on death benefits, health care benefits, senior nursing care, hunting and fishing discounts, tax exemptions, VA loans, Blue Star and Gold Star. It's contacted the National Grid. Also, there's been contact of the National Grid to get easement for the banners on poles for flags. The breakfast with the Easter Bunny will benefit the family adopting a Ukrainian child. Councilperson Hurlbut reported that Hilton Morton Walker Fire Department has 137 calls this year to date. They have had new participation for the new members training program. They had good response for the windstorm and working, remodeling, and replacing the 1996 pumper. The highway department is fixing some sod damage, removing snow fencing, cleaning up the parks and cemeteries, and working with recreation to relocate fields for the walking and biking trail. Cheryl reported that there were 32 permits issued from March 14th, 2022 to April 11th, 2022. Permits cost received was $1,215, and the value was $715,080 and 22 cents. 3 permits have been closed. For recreation, 85 participants were at the Easter egg hunt. They've got a decline of youth participation in organized recreational leagues and potential solutions presented. According to Heather Fletcher, the Hamlin Hornets participation has severely dropped in the past 5 years. Up until 5 years ago, there were always at least 3 teams for every age division. Now they struggle, the organization struggles to form one team for every division. And
Are the Hornets, is that the football? Or is it any sport?
That's football.
Football, okay.
The cheer participation has dropped by over 60%. And there was a question about what Hamlin residents are looking for. And things they were, some of the things they were looking for was a splash park, a shade system on the playgrounds, a walking and biking trail in the park, so that kids don't have to bike on the street, and residents can safely walk alone or with friends without the worry of traffic. A disc golf layout, a dog park. This is more of a social opportunity for dog owners than it is exercise for the animals. A climbing or rock wall, an air-conditioned gym in order to provide summer activities indoors, and regularly scheduled small events in the park when the weather allows in order to gather and socialize. Examples of this were different kinds of music one night a week in the pavilion, similar to what Rockwood does along the canal. Or open invitation field games such as laser tag. And the town clerk reported that the inquiries and payments have started coming in for the spring cleanup days. Supervisor reported Meals on Wheels sent a thank you to the town. And they're working on knocking on doors for the sewer easement. Still working on the webpage, we're not in a rush into it. We're communicating with Verizon for a new written contract to reduce the cost for them. And to start thinking about what you would like to see in a new sign out front. That was the end.
Okay, thank you, Claire. Carrie, zoning board?
Yeah. So at the April 18th meeting, there was an application of Kyle and Jessica Fletcher at 1711 Apple Hollow Lane. They were looking for relief from Town Code 520-41B 1A, which is the area variance to raise 6 hens and less than 1 acre. No roosters. There was a discussion on waste removal. And then their public hearing was scheduled for May 16th. Under the discussion, looked like they just discussed the Lakeshore Sewer District number 2, that public hearing on May 5th. And then they said they were still waiting on approximately 15 easements for the Sewer District number 1.
Yeah.
They reported that the Spencer was appointed to new tax assessor. Also that there was the fire marshal position that was open. There was 2 current applicants. And in regards to what Clark just mentioned, they are looking to do a new sign out front, potentially an electric one that doesn't have the letters that you have to switch in and out. And that was it. It was a quick meeting.
Okay, thank you.
So, sure.
So I'm okay with planning board, Clark, county board next month.
Yeah.
And Carrie, maybe you can work out with Louis. Louis said he would be back, but
Okay.
maybe at least contact him and just to make sure he's still okay to do the ZBA next month, right?
Yeah.
If you need phone numbers, I've got them, but
Okay. I think I have it as well. Thank you.
Cheryl gave us a copy of everybody's emails and phone numbers, and but just to make sure that he's okay with that. He said he would be back for this meeting next month, but I wasn't sure about it.
Yeah, I don't know what he said his return date was, so no problem.
So I'll move right along. I'm Friends of Hamlin Beach State Park. The Friends had a meeting, and we actually had the meeting in the office in the park office, which is the first time since COVID. So the excuse me, the park staff continues the tree work throughout the park, including the campground and at the CCC POW site. There's been windstorm damage in addition to removing all the dangerous ash trees that have died, so the staff has been very busy. 2022 camping reservations for the weekends this coming season are already booked, they're all full. An entrance fee of $9 on weekends only begins May 14th. The daily entrance fee will begin on June 20th. Volunteers interested in participating in I Love My Park Day on May 7th can still register at ptny.org. That stands for Parks and Trails New York. ptny.org. And Hamlin Beach is listed on that website under the Allegheny Genesee region. So that was
Are you still gonna have, free pass for seniors?
as far as I know, I believe anybody as a senior, Monday through Friday can go for free. The only time that doesn't work is if Monday through Friday is a holiday. Yeah. Okay, was zoning workshop, I don't think there's any report on that. So, can I get a motion to adjourn this portion of the meeting?
Move to adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay, and for the Hamlin Waterfront Committee, I did one referral, and that was the one I mentioned in the planning board minutes. It was at 6353 Shore Acres, where Michael and Rachel Black wanted to erect an 8 by 15 foot shed, 35 feet from the edge of the existing pond. The only concern that I had was that when I went out and measured, it was, and the homeowner had already placed, they hadn't put any footers in, but they had placed the base of the shed. And when I measured, it was actually 25 feet from the pond, and the DEC permit said 35 feet. But it's also, it was springtime, high water, so I'm sure the pond is going to go down from there. And the planning board is still okay with that, but it is in the floodplain area, and the homeowner's aware of that. So it was consistent with the LWRP, there was no issue. So they got their LWRP approval and their conservation development. And that was, those were the only referrals. I have a couple things. Well, I have one thing for discussion. I was able to attend a webinar or web presentation from the Lake Ontario St. Lawrence River Board about spring conditions. So it was about a 1 hour webinar or web report. And according to that, there were several different people that spoke that were either on the board or familiar members of the board. They said that at this time, or through the winter, Lake Ontario was about 1 inch above average winter water levels. The water levels of Lake Erie are similar to levels in 2021. So because 85% of the inflows to Lake Erie, to Lake Ontario, come from Lake Erie, it was the recommendation of the board commented that the chances of high water on Lake Ontario in 2022 they feel are low. In fact, they feel there's actually a slightly higher risk of low water in 2022 based on conditions at this point. Ongoing information can be found on the board's web page, and I have it written down here, which I will give to the clerk, our secretary, so she can put it in the minutes. But they also have a Facebook page, facebook.com/International Lake Ontario St. Lawrence River Board. Again, this will all be in the minutes when they are posted online. So Is there anything else for discussion that anybody needs to bring up? Oh, I did want to mention that our tree giveaway this past Saturday was a big success. It runs from 9 to 11, and in years past, closer to 11 o'clock, some people come back to see if there are extra trees left over, and sometimes there are, and we're glad to have them out because we don't want any left over. But there was a lot of interest this year. Maybe it's due to emerald ash borer and tree blowdowns or so on, but we gave away our last trees around 20 after 10. And so whether or not we'll think about ordering more trees next year, I don't know. That's certainly going to be up for discussion, but it was very successful. The trees were very healthy. They had bagged them differently, which was very handy. They had in quite secure plastic, heavy-duty plastic bags that were labeled with big labels on them, the species of tree, and there were 10 trees in each bag. So if somebody came up and wanted 10 trees, you just handed them the bag. And if they wanted less than that, then we opened the bag and gave people maybe 5, because it's always good to give them a few extra in case they don't survive. So it went very smoothly, and Patty Jo, our town clerk, was there also handing out free COVID test kits. So people were appreciative of that as well. So it worked out very well, and we're looking forward to doing it again next year. If there's no further information, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
The second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, meeting is adjourned. Do you want this, or can I make notes on it? You sure? Because I can also do like this back. Don't keep these.
That's fine.
I don't usually keep them. It's easier if I do it on here, that it's more organized.
I'm assuming Cheryl doesn't need a copy of my notes from the zoning board. She shouldn't.
Oh,
Right?
no, I don't think so. Because she's also at the
Yeah,
zoning board.
she was there.
Are we good, Colin?
I'm trying to figure out how to turn it off.